smack in the middle of the blue kind of boy area was an aisle sign that said building sets, girls building sets. And I just thought that was so frustrating.
Well, imagine no longer having to consider gender while shopping. Big box retailer Target is making that change a reality. In a very bold move, the chain announced it will get rid of so-called gender-based signs. So take a look. That means you will no longer have signs to help you or your children distinguish what's a girl's toy versus a boy's. Now, the same is true for betting or other forms of entertainment. The retailer says the shift comes in response to customer feedback that distinguishing products based on gender can be harmful to young children. And it issued this statement on its website. Let's take a look at that. There you go. It says, we never want our guests or their families to feel frustrated or limited by the way things are presented. Over the past year, guests have raised important questions about a handful of signs in our stores that offer product suggestions based on gender. We heard you and we agree. And while some applaud Target's efforts, critics argue it's just another case of political correctness gone too far. Joining us now to discuss this topic further is licensed psychologist Dr. Tiffany Sanders. Thanks for joining us here on Newsmax Now.
Thank you for having me.
Dr. Sanders, in your professional opinion, what is your reaction to Target's decision? Are these signs really as harmful as some suggest?
My initial reaction was I was kind of skeptical as to why Target decided to do that. It seemed PC. It seemed like we're overboard in terms of being politically correct. I understand that they don't want to single out girls' toys when truthfully girls and boys can play with the same toys. So I understand that component, but in terms of efficiency and the way that people operate and compartmentalize, it sort of makes sense to have things sort of sectioned off. And truthfully, unless Target is starting a trend, it may seem kind of annoying as a shopper to go into a store and you're always having to search when you can go to Kmart, Sears, and maybe find things much quicker and faster.
Right. And doctor, would a child even notice those signs, or is this just reaction to parents complaining?
Probably more like reaction to parents complaining. I mean, most kids aren't looking up and reading, does it say girls or boys? Kids tend to look for things that are very specific to their gender. If they're shopping for toys, I'm going for dolls, Barbie dolls. I'm looking for colors like pink and purple and yellow. And boys are looking for the blues, the greens, the grays. So they typically know to gravitate towards that because we socialize kids to do that. So I don't think kids are overthinking it. I think really if parents want to have this issue raise it in your home and try to be more gender neutral at that time.
Doctor, I also want to ask you, one of our producers, Marty, she brought up this point. She said if a parent wants to provide their children with gender neutral toys, isn't it incumbent on the parent to make that decision for the child, not the store?
I think so. I think parents are responsible for the development and cultivation of their child. And if they want to be more gender neutral, have gender neutral colors on walls, I mean, that's perfectly fine. It may be just very difficult for many major retailers to all be gender neutral. And truth be told, is the American public really asking for that? And I don't know if Target just jumped the gun based off of one tweet. I get her purpose, and that picture that she put in that tweet was very accurate. We don't want to say, hey, girls can't use building blocks because they don't need a separate set. It's not like it's going to weigh differently, but I think sometimes they go overboard. In this case, Target looked like they did.
Doctor, in the time that we have remaining, I want to talk about another gender-related story that's making waves, and that one takes us to California, where for the first time in our country, a state has agreed to pay for an inmate's sex change operation. Take a listen.
The inmate, Shiloh Quine, will be transferred to a prison for women once it's done. Corrections officials say in a statement the state is required to provide medically necessary treatment for inmates and says independent doctors have said Quine needs this surgery.
Doctor, on a related note, in a settlement, California also agreed to parole another transgender inmate after a court ordered the state to pay for his sex change operation. The physicians for these inmates argue surgery is medically necessary. But is it? And is it to the point where our tax dollars need to be used to pay for it?
You know, when you hear the story at its face value, it's very difficult to make sense of it. You know, if you're in jail, you do not get the benefit of having a surgery to change your gender parts. You know, that's something you have the benefit of doing, you know, using your own dollars. So I think, and I understand if taxpayers are upset by it, there must be some outstanding circumstances that's going to lead a physician to say, let's have this surgery or give this person a surgery. And just at face value, it just doesn't make sense.
Well, and we don't do it for our lawful citizens. Dr. Sanders, thanks so much for joining us here on Newsmax Now. Always good to have you.
Thank you.